Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a lot of news I'd like to share with all of you today. So, we're going to start off talking about a major strike inside of Ukraine in the city of Izyum. This is a city in the Kharkiv region, very close to the Donetsk region and the front line, and it has approximately 45,000 people who live here. There was a Russian ballistic missile that directly targeted this town in a residential area. We have a high rise apartment building that was destroyed. You can see the cars were destroyed here in this area as well. Lots of debris flown everywhere. Reports of 5 people that have unfortunately lost their lives in this strike. I believe 3 of them being children, which is very sad to hear. And then also upwards of 50 people, I believe, have been also injured in this strike. So it was definitely a very massive attack over here inside of Ukraine in the city of Izyum. Okay, so I've got pictures and videos coming out from that area. We'll talk more about that as we move forward. We also have reports in the Kursk region in the town of Novo Ivanivka. We have a conducted precision strike on a Russian command post once again. So it looks like Ukraine launched another missile attack inside the Kursk region, targeting yet again another Russian command post. So we'll talk about that also as we move forward. And then also, we're going to talk about a video that I put out for you guys yesterday regarding rare earth minerals inside of Ukraine, and that Donald Trump was recently, over the last 24 hours, calling for an exchange of trading weapons for Ukraine. And in return, the United States would get some sort of rare earth minerals. Not sure exactly what they'll get yet, but we do have a response coming from Volodymyr Zelenskyy today, as it looks like he is going to be open to accepting United States weapons, whatever weapons come from the West, in exchange for rare earth minerals in Ukraine. So that's a very big update. We'll talk about that also as we move forward. So let's go ahead and jump into this, guys. I've got a lot of information to go over. So we're going to hop on over to the Kiev Post just for a moment. I want to talk about this ballistic missile strike on Izyum. So it says here, Russian ballistic missile strike on Izyum kills 5, injures dozens. Kharkiv regional official Sinu Hubov emphasized that there were no military facilities in the area and that all those killed were civilians, with their identities still being confirmed. This just coming out today, February 4th, 2025. Here's a photo coming out from that area, which looks like an apartment building taking a direct hit here and completely destroying it. You can see all the air conditioning units here just laying on the ground as well. Lots of people apparently being trapped under rubble, reportedly, from what I heard from this area. So it says here, Russian troops struck at the center of Izyum in the Kharkiv region with a ballistic missile, killing 5 people and injuring dozens, according to Ole Sinuabov, head of the Regional Military Administration, or the OVA. Enemy strike on Izyum, according to preliminary data. The occupiers used a ballistic missile. 4 people died, Sinuabov wrote on Telegram. So, you can disregard these numbers. They're continuously changing. As far as we know, most updated numbers, around 5 people have died, and upwards of 43, almost 50 people have also been injured, okay? So there's a video that was coming out from this area that I can show you guys on X here in just a minute. It also says here, initially reports indicated 17 wounded, 5 of whom were hospitalized. Later, Sinubov confirmed the number injured had risen to 20. 1 more person is still under the rubble. Rescue operations are ongoing, he added. Later updates revealed 24 people had been hospitalized, including a 15-year-old girl with shrapnel wounds in moderate condition. 3 more victims were in surgery. The deceased in Izyum are 2 women and 2 men, civilians. Their identities are being confirmed, Sinubov said. However, the latest report, he wrote, unfortunately, the death toll has increased to 5. Rescuers have unblocked another body. The person is being identified. The attack damaged administrative buildings and a 5-story residential building. Emergency responders, medical teams, and search dogs were deployed to the scene. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy responded to the Russian strike on Izyum, writing on Telegram, as a result of this attack, part of the city council building was destroyed. Unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives. My condolences to their families and loved ones. Zelenskyy reiterated the urgent need to increase pressure on Russia through all possible means, military force, sanctions, and diplomacy, to stop terror and protect life. This cruelty cannot be tolerated, he added. Okay, so there's more information on this article. I'll cite it down below if you guys want to read more of this. But that was just the bulk of the information talking about this strike on Izyum today. So definitely a very horrible attack to have to report here. Let's hop on over to X now, and I've got pictures and videos coming out from that area over here. This from Null Reports. Russia launched a ballistic missile strike on Izyum. Many injured, casualties reported. According to Kharkiv Governor Ole Sinubov, 4 people were killed, 17 were injured, 5 of whom were hospitalized. Emergency services are on the scene. So here's a picture coming out from that area that somebody took a little bit of ways away. You can see the smoke coming from here as a Russian ballistic missile directly targeting this town. Now, this is something we've seen repeatedly, okay? Whenever Russia launches these missiles into Ukraine, they're destroying residential buildings, killing innocent people. So this is something we have definitely seen a lot. So pretty crazy the amount of smoke coming from over here from this ballistic missile that was fired. Most likely probably Iskander missiles being fired over here. Now from Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, Izyum, the rescue operation continues after a Russian missile strike on the city. This attack, destroyed parts of the city council building. As of now, we know there are casualties. 20 people have been injured. Tragically, 5 people have died. My condolences to the families and loved ones. This brutality cannot be tolerated. Maximum pressure must be applied to Russia through military force, sanctions, and diplomacy to stop the terror and to protect lives. So this was video footage coming out from there. It's approximately like 26 seconds long, but we can see massive damage to this residential apartment building. And reportedly, lots of people being trapped under the rubble as a portion of it did collapse. You can see also the firefighter crews here on scene as search and rescue operations were underway to help people that were potentially trapped. Okay, so very horrible attack here to have to report. We'll move on to another update now from Anton Gerashenko. Among the 5 people killed in the Russian attack on Izyum were 2 sisters aged 18 and 19. The elder sister, Angelina, was pregnant. She had come to the passport office with her younger sister and mother-in-law to process documents. The driver who brought them also died along with the young woman, according to local media. The number of injured has risen to 55, including 3 children. Local authorities report Russian terror has taken so many lives. My deepest condolences. So here's a quick clip of a woman on the phone here and talking to a reporter and talking about these 2 young women that lost their lives, one of them being pregnant. Take a look at this.
Що, от і сестричка лежить.
Ваші 2 сестри?
Мої племінниця, невістка і сестра її менша.
Вони просто тут проходили
Паспортний стол.
і після прильоту одразу чи поранення були?
От витягли з-під лавки вбили. Одна вагітна, одна дитина сталася. Що, от і
All right, so you can see here she's talking about it was her daughter-in-law and her younger sister that lost their lives in this attack, and they were at a passport office nearby when this Russian ballistic missile came in and unfortunately took their lives. So very sad to have to hear that, guys. Now moving on to Bliskovka, the number of victims of the attack on Izyum increased to 38, according to RMA. So take a look at this as well. We got the emergency crews here on scene to help out. We can see that destroyed building in the background. Just another photo I wanted to share with you guys coming out from this area. Here's one more from Bliskovka again. The number of victims in Izyum has increased to 43, according to SES. So the numbers just continue to rise. As you can see, this was this morning around 5:24 a.m. on February 4th, 2025. So that was approximately about 4 hours ago at the time that I recorded this. So I'm sure these numbers will be expected to rise in the coming hours. Here's some more pictures coming out from that area showing massive damage to this apartment complex as it was directly hit here. And unfortunately, some people had lost their lives in the photo there too. So very sad to have to see, you guys. All right, now from Max 24, on February 3rd, 2025, the Ukrainian Air Force conducted a precision strike on the Russian command post of one of the units near Novo-Ivanivka, according to the general staff. This command post was used to coordinate the Russian military's offensive operations in the Kursk direction. Okay, so this is probably two command posts in the Kursk region just over the last few days that we've reported. Ukraine's been carrying out a lot of precision strikes on Russian command posts pretty much everywhere inside of Russia and also in eastern Ukraine recently. But mainly in the Kursk region, we've been hearing lots of reports of this. So if I get video footage coming out from here, I'll let you guys know. But typically, what we've been seeing from these command posts is we just really see a statement like this, and that's about it. But if we get some video footage or some other evidence of this strike, I'll let you guys know, okay? Now for more translated, Zelenskyy commented on Trump's statement about rare earth metals, in Ukraine, and reminded that this is an important economic item in the victory plan. We are open to American investment. We are open to the fact that all this can be developed with our partners who help us defend our land and push the enemy back with their weapons, their presence and sanctions packages. This is absolutely fair. I spoke about this back in September when we had a meeting with President Trump. The president of Ukraine said, all right, so it looks like, according to this information, they are open to doing trade with the United States and trading rare earth minerals from Ukraine in exchange for weapons. I mean, obviously, we know that Ukraine needs continued support. So under the Trump administration, we know that Trump is really not going to just hand over weapons for free. He's going to want something in return. And we did do that report for you guys yesterday, letting you know that Trump is requesting minerals from Ukraine in exchange for weapons. Okay, so new statement coming out from Zelenskyy today. Also, for more translated again, this was part of Zelenskyy's victory plan. The office of the president responded to Trump's statement on rare earth resources. It is reported that Ukraine has special resources, including rare earth elements. It is crucial to ensure they do not fall into Russia's hands. That is why Zelenskyy proposed that these resources be protected and used in cooperation with key partners. Okay, so that's a big one too. So it looks like this was potentially a secret part of the victory plan, as we didn't really hear this in the past when Zelenskyy came out and unveiled his victory plan even to the parliament inside of Kiev. So yeah, so it looks like it was a big part of the victory plan, and it's part of their plan to win this war and to make sure that Ukraine can continue to boost up its military as well and defend itself from Russia. So hopefully, if this war does come to an end, Ukraine will be in a strong position, so that way Russia can never attack Ukraine again. We'll see what happens there. All right, also from Bliskovka, we have established dates when the American team will come to Ukraine, said Zelenskyy. The president also responded to Trump's statement about rare earth metals. We are open to the fact that all this minerals can be developed with our partners who help us protect our land. Okay, so apparently, too, we're going to be seeing an American team heading to Ukraine very soon to meet inside of Kiev, probably to discuss the transfer of these minerals for weapons. So we'll be expecting to see that report coming out very soon. Now, from NOAA reports, the Ukrainian company Robotized Complexes has unveiled the Plyush, I think if I'm pronouncing that right, ground drone with a 10-meter retractable mast. It can serve as a radio relay or electronic warfare station, operating remotely and silently. Its range is 40 kilometers, can reach a speed of 9 kilometers per hour, and is deployed in 80 seconds. So check out this new drone, guys. Pretty crazy. It looks like they can be used for like telecommunications or transferring radio signals. So that's kind of a new photo coming out from Ukraine showing this thing in action. And take a look at that as well. So Ukraine's just been developing all kinds of different drones, attack drones, and now we've got some being used for communications. So pretty cool to see that. This one's actually a track vehicle too, so pretty cool. All right, now for Bliskovka, the head of the Karelian Federal Anti-Corruption Agency fell from the window of his office in Zavodsk, if I'm pronouncing that right. So I believe this is actually up in very close to St. Petersburg, okay, and also close to the Finnish border. Russian media reports Arthur Pryahin fell from the 5th floor and died. According to preliminary data, he committed suicide. So we've been seeing so much of this. There's people falling out of windows repeatedly, and I'm not really sure exactly why this is a thing in Russia, but we definitely see a lot of people losing their lives, and sometimes the reports come out and say that's people committing suicide doing this, and it's unfortunate that they feel like they need to do that. But there are some reports a lot that come out of Russia. This is a lot of ways that people are being eliminated, okay? If they commit some sort of heinous act inside of Russia, we see a lot of Russian officials sometimes falling out of windows. Lots of important people in Russia tend to be dying this way. So very interesting report coming out today. So again, he was from the head of the Karelian Federal Anti-Corruption Agency, okay? So maybe something went wrong over there. Now for Max 24, Ukraine is ready to discuss the topic of elections by the end of 2025 if the issue is raised by the new administration of the White House. Ambassador of Ukraine to the U.S., Markarova, is what she said recently. According to her, the subject of elections has not been discussed yet. Okay, so we've been hearing that Ukraine could potentially be holding elections, which will probably come sometime after the war. But take a look at this photo here. Ukrainian elections, main differences from Russia and Belarus. If you notice, pretty much for the most part, new a new president inside of Ukraine every 4 years or so, right? But take a look at Russia and Belarus. Okay, pretty much been the same president all these years. Okay, for more than like 20, sometimes 30 years, especially for Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko has been in power for I think over 30 years now. Isn't that pretty crazy? All right, now moving on to Max 24. Ryanair is drawing up plans for the resumption of flights to Ukraine amid rising hopes that Donald Trump could bring about an end to the war with Russia, according to the Telegraph. Michael O'Leary, the airline's chief executive, said Ryanair was developing a blueprint that would allow flights to begin within 4 to 6 weeks of the conflict ending. Okay, so it looks like some airlines now are starting to prepare for them to be able to fly back into Ukraine. As we know, Ukraine's airspace is pretty much closed, and it has been since the start of the war. But very soon, if we do see this war come to an end, I'm sure their airspace will open back up again, and we will probably see flights heading back into places like Kiev or Lviv inside of Ukraine. So that should be coming here very soon as well. Looks like airlines are preparing for that. Now, from NOAA reports again, Ukraine reportedly proposed continuing Russian gas transit in exchange for the return of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and stopping attacks on energy infrastructure, but Russia refused. This is stated by Volodymyr Omelshenko, director of energy programs at the Razumkov Center, a Ukrainian non-governmental public policy think tank. Okay, so this was a report that came out just today. And maybe this is why we saw the Russian gas get shut down. All the liquefied natural gas, platforms and pipelines running through Ukraine got halted on January 1st, so just a little bit over a month ago. And it looks like Ukraine may have reportedly been trying to negotiate a deal with Russia to transfer the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant back to Ukrainian control. And in return, maybe they would let the liquefied natural gas continue flowing through Ukraine. And maybe this was a retaliation event for Russia refusing that. But this was only a report, not completely confirmed. Okay, so that was coming out today. Now for military news UA, Latvian industry has begun production of Finnish Patria 6x6 armored personnel carriers for the armed forces of Ukraine. Take a look at this thing. Kind of reminds me of the armored vehicles that Rheinmetall produces. These things are really cool looking. I like the camo pattern on that. So this was a new APC that Latvia is working on right now for Ukraine. So pretty awesome. Now from NOAA reports, around 50,000 troops from all branches of Ukraine's armed forces are being transferred to the land forces to replenish combat brigades and begin full-scale rotations, according to UP source. This marks the first major rotational war effort in 3 years. Okay, 50,000 troops, that's a lot. So it looks like Ukraine's going to be trying to rotate troops out. I'm sure a lot of them on the front lines are probably exhausted, and maybe they don't get a whole lot of rotating to take breaks and whatnot. So it looks like Ukraine is going to be transferring about 50,000 from all branches into their land forces to try to rotate some of those troops out on the front line. So that's actually a good thing. That way their troops can be stronger and not worn out, beat down from the constant heavy fighting every day. As we know, on the eastern side of Ukraine, is definitely major battles being fought over there repeatedly. All right, now from the Ukrainian Review, give us nuclear weapons and enough missiles, Zelenskyy said in response to Ukraine's delay in joining NATO. We must defend ourselves with something if we have to wait decades to join the alliance. All right, so Zelenskyy was on Piers Morgan just recently over the last 24 hours. This was reportedly something he stated there. And I mean, I would have to agree to an extent. Maybe I'm not sure about nuclear weapons. That's definitely a major step forward if the United States or its Western partners were to hand over nuclear weapons to Ukraine. But at least in terms of like missiles and protection and conventional weapons, I think that's very important for Ukraine. If this war does come to an end, something that Zelensky's been mentioning for a very long time now is that Ukraine needs to be in a strong position that when this war does come to an end, they need to, put Russia in a position where they can never feel like they can attack Ukraine ever again. And if they do have a lot of weaponry, well, they can always strike back and hit Russia hard if they're ever attacked again. So that's something very big that came out today as well. And we've been hearing that, Ukraine may not be able to get into the NATO alliance anytime soon. If this gets extended out, 15, 20 years or something like that, or maybe indefinitely if Ukraine can never join, who knows what will happen. Ukraine's definitely going to need whatever weaponry they can get to defend themselves from Russia, as they won't have the alliance to protect them, okay? Now from NOAA reports, according to New Voice, Trump's envoy Kellogg is expected to visit Ukraine in mid-February for a meeting with Zelenskyy, according to the New Voice. Okay, so this is Keith Kellogg, the special envoy for Ukraine that Trump appointed. And looks like he's going to be visiting Ukraine potentially in mid-February. So we keep hearing that somewhere around, April, maybe May, this war could potentially be going to an end. And him visiting in mid-February kind of lines up with that timeline. So potentially in the next couple of months, we'll see if this war comes to an end. But Keith Kellogg should be visiting Ukraine to meet with Zelenskyy soon. Now for more translated again, Yonhap reports that South Korea's National Intelligence Service has confirmed that North Korean troops deployed in Kursk to support the Russians have not participated in combat since mid-January. The likely reason for this is heavy losses. Estimates suggest that North Korea has sent around 11,000 troops to support Russia in its war against Ukraine. Of these, approximately 300 have been killed and around 2,700 wounded. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the North Koreans recently. I've been letting you guys know that Ukraine's been coming out and saying they're not really engaging with the North Koreans as much in the Kursk region. There was even a report, I think just 2 days ago, from the New York Times that came out that the North Koreans had effectively pulled off the front lines in the Kursk region, so Ukraine's really not battling it out. But we're kind of hearing conflicting reports right now. There's some saying that there are North Koreans there, they're just not on the front line, but they're still inside the Kursk region. So who really knows here? But South Korea's National Intelligence Service was confirming just today that Ukraine has not engaged with the North Koreans in the last couple weeks, okay? Here's another report from Max 24. Budanov denies that the North Koreans have left the Kursk region. Their activity has simply decreased due to heavy losses, but about 8,000 are still participating in the fighting. Okay, so Budanov coming out today, he's basically shutting that notion down, saying that the North Koreans have not pulled away. They're still there in the Kursk region, and they're still actively fighting, but they're just not fighting as heavily, I guess. Maybe some of them are pulling off, but he's saying about 8,000 are still there in the area. If anything, the major reason why we're seeing a decrease in the fighting, according to him, is because of their losses. So looks like, at least according to Budanov, they could potentially still be fighting over there. We'll wait for more information on that later. Now for Max 24, unloading of fuel from tankers carrying Russian oil is delayed due to U.S. sanctions, according to Bloomberg. Only 2 of the 9 ships sent from oil and gas projects on Sakhalin via the Pacific Ocean have been unloaded since the new restrictions were introduced. Okay, so major impact with these sanctions on Russia's shadow fleet of oil tankers. Okay, this was reported probably about 2-3 weeks ago. As we heard, the U.S. Treasury imposed major sanctions on Russia's shadow fleet of vessels. And ever since then, we've repeatedly been hearing these stories coming out that Russia's vessels cannot dock at many ports, especially inside of China and India. They've been just kind of anchored off the coast, and they don't really have anywhere to drop off their oil, as the sanctions are now taking effect. And probably within the next month, we'll be seeing even more effect on many ships, as countries like India and China are already stating that after March, mid-March, there's a lot of these ships they won't even be able to accept at all. Okay, so some might still be dropping off at ports, but very soon they're not going to be able to. Okay. All right, now a couple more things to share with you before we get you out of here. From Max 24, Ukrainian air defense shot down 37 out of 65 Shahed UAVs. 28 UAVs suppressed by electronic warfare. So you can see not as many drones going into Ukraine as normal, and we didn't have any reports today if there was any damage by these drones. So we did see here that a good majority of them were shot down. So as far as I know, no major damage from drones over the last 24 hours. All right, so one last report to share with you guys from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of February 4th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. All right, it says here Russia's losses as of February 4th, 1,270 troops, 24 AFVs, 123 vehicles and fuel tanks, 18 tanks, 66 artillery systems, 92 UAVs, 2 special equipment. Okay, so if you notice here, some of these numbers that are extremely high. First of all, the vehicles and fuel tanks, usually right around 100, a little bit more than usual. 18 tanks, though, that's probably the highest amount of tanks that I have seen destroyed on the Russian side in quite a while. I think we had a number of high as 12 just a few days ago, but I haven't seen anything close to 20 in a while. So 18 tanks is quite a bit being destroyed over the last 24 hours. And look at that, 66 artillery systems. That's a lot of artillery guns being destroyed. And in terms of troop numbers, a little bit lower than usual. We usually see about 1,500 or more, but just slightly lower, right about 1,300 there. Okay, so lots of good updates coming out from Ukraine today. And I want to thank you all so much for tuning in for this update on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day today. Thanks again so much for tuning in. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.